Now, at a time close to this in 2022, the late Raila Odinga and People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua were re-strategizing following the former Prime Minister's fifth stab at the presidency, which proved to be elusive. Martha Karua, who deputized him, explains why their deep-rooted history sprawls far beyond politics. In a sit-down interview with NTV's senior reporter, Ngina Kirori, the party leader shunned the organization of the late Raila Odinga's memorial and why President William Ruto should borrow a leaf from Raila Odinga's book.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I'd like to first start by asking you something that might be a bit personal. I've noticed that this is the dress that you are wearing on the day that you are named as the late Raila Odinga's running mate. Could you tell us a bit more about why you chose this particular dress and what it means to you?
Well, I chose it intentionally. It reminds me, like you've rightly pointed out, of the 16th of May, 2022, when Right Honorable Raila named me his running mate. And we started the journey of campaigning to win the hearts of Kenyans. I'll retire it together with the era. His passing is the end of an era. Yeah, so it should come as no surprise.
Now, a lot of people know your rapport or your relationship with the late Raila Odinga because of the 2022 general elections. But you go way back in terms of your historical ties. I believe you went into parliament at around the same time and you established a very strong rapport between one another. So who was the Raila that you knew at a personal level during that time as opposed to the Raila that people think that you know recently?
Let me say that I got to know him before I entered parliament. I was among his many lawyers when the government was arresting, putting him in and all that, in the run-up to the multi-party politics. He and I were part of the group that were in the trenches fighting for the second liberation. Raila is the sort of person you disagree with on principle, you will still continue talking and engaging. He never really carried grudges. You will disagree today, work with him tomorrow. And perhaps that's why he was able to do so many handshakes to people who had not only, violated his rights, but the rights of others. Yeah, a person with a large heart.
You and the late Raila Odinga fell under most opposition movements that were championing for various causes and other, sort of movements in that direction. So when it comes to the opposition, it's almost synonymous with the late Raila Odinga. There's a huge vacuum that's going to be left as a result of that. What do you think the future of Kenyan politics looks like without the late Raila Odinga?
He's watered the tree of liberation, and it's up to those of us who are left behind, both young and old, to carry on. And I think the greatest honor we can do in his memory is carry on with the liberation. And actually, I take this opportunity to call upon Dr. William Ruto. It's time to stop the abductions. It's time to stop extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. I recall even when they were collaborating with the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Raila severally telling him publicly to end this trend. It's time we honored the Constitution Raila and many of us so much fought for, the 2010 Constitution. It's time we honored the aspirations of Kenyans. Stop corruption, fight it, and ensure that the state serves the best interests of Kenyans. I know that even when Right Honorable Raila Odinga joined the broad-based government, maybe it was in his belief that it will serve the interests of the people. In my view, I didn't think it would, because I happened to know that he may have done so in good faith, others may not have. And so far, I'm vindicated. So I'm saying to Dr. William Ruto, perhaps time to put in something for the people. If you listened to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, he said that's where working with the government would take us. We are not yet there. And it's up to us as Kenyans to continue fighting for our rights, never to give up, never to allow the Constitution to be violated, to be dismembered, like the efforts that are there now for this 7 years. You are elected for 5 years. You cannot extend. It's a breach of contract and is altering the character of the executive, which must go to the referendum. So let's start following what our rules say, and that's the Kenya I believe Raila Odinga was fighting for.
Would you ever consider working with William Samoei Ruto, the president, right now? Would you ever consider working with him in future, considering that you once said that you wouldn't work with maybe Raila Odinga, and that ended up changing course?
I think there's no comparison, absolutely, between the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Ruto. And the day I said I would not work with Raila, he was running for president. I was running for president. There is no way you can work with the opposite person unless if you are surrendering your run. It is within that context. But if you look at what he has fought for and what we have been in the trenches for, we have so much in common with him. Whereas, on the other hand, with Dr. William Ruto, very little in common. We have had occasion to collaborate, like we collaborated on the issue of rejecting BBI, but it was totally limited to fighting BBI. Thereafter, there was talk of working together, and soul-searching myself, I had to answer in the negative that not in good faith. I can't. Yeah. And I don't even think today, because I know deep down in me, he doesn't mean what he says. I am not the only one to say that his DNA is to lie throughout and to almost believe in his own lies himself. And I do not think that he is ever guided by the best interests of the people. So to that extent, no, I cannot at all consider working with him.
We saw massive crowds turning up today in honor of the late Raila Odinga. What's your view on today's turnout? What's your view on how people have chosen to honor him? And what's your view on what has taken place at Kasarani Stadium?
Let me say this. The turnout defines his life and times. That people really honored him today. Massive crowds, just like they used to turn up for him in life. Raila is a person who has drawn crowds like nobody before him. I won't say after him because we don't know tomorrow, but so far, he's one of a kind. And Kenyans identified with him in very many ways. And today is testament to that. The way the police have handled the mourners at Kasarani, that's tragic. And that does not honor the memory of the fallen hero, people's president. Tear gas and bullets, because I can hear, I wasn't there, but I can hear the sound of gunshots. It's totally unacceptable. Failing to create a system where people come filing past and viewing the body and knowing that it's thousands upon thousands, it's setting a stage for chaos. I don't know what the organizers had in mind. After what they saw in Parliament and at the airport, they should have thought twice about how to plan in Kasarani. As we go to the remaining ceremonies for the send-off, tomorrow at Nyayo Stadium, and Saturday in Kisumu, the public viewing, and in Bondo on Sunday. Can today serve as a lesson for better preparation and free advice to the system. Allow some of the politicians to help you. An address by a politician who the people can listen to would have helped them at Kasarani in crowd control.
Finally, I think from what you've been able to explain, there's almost this euphoria that came with the late Raila Odinga. I mean, even the people who followed him and his politics experienced it. The crowds that appeared today also appeared to be experiencing it. For you, as someone who worked closely with him all the way back in the day until 2022 and even thereafter, what sort of nuggets would you pick from his legacy which you would want to emulate in your own sort of legacy?
Just to work in the best interests of the people, remain resilient, and continue on the path of what is best for Kenya. And that is something I will say I've not only learned from him, it's something I have lived all my years in politics. So let us not lose sight of the prize, which is the total liberation, political, social, and economic. And for those who are in positions of power and decision making, remember that power is transient. Honor the people, and they will honor you. Do not mistreat the people, forgetting that tomorrow you may not be on the same seat you're on.